How do I come up with ideas? Hey, I'm Jacqui Hocking. I'm a documentary filmmaker turned businesswoman, and I want to help you tell your story. As we go through today's topic, I'll actually be live answering your questions. So just type your questions in the section below and let me know what you think. So I think I've always been a filmmaker, or at least I've always been playing with video. Even when I was a little girl, me and my brothers used to make movies together. I remember we made our own version of Star Wars, where I was Princess Leia, and I think it's just something that for us started out as something that we used to play and make movies for fun. But as we grew up, we never grew out of it. We just kept making films, kept making stories. That company with my brother still exists today, called Late Night Films in Melbourne in Australia. But as I grew older, when I turned around, leaving my teens and going to early 20s, I wanted to do something more meaningful than blowing up aliens and started making documentaries. So I think my first documentary, I was maybe around 11 or 12 years old. And I always found the dynamics in high school really interesting between bullies and nerdy kids. And I was kind of in between, this observer watching everything. And I made a documentary interviewing the nerdy kids in high school and interviewing the bullies about why they did that. And it was really profound and really interesting experience for me. And I think ever since then, I've just always been really interested in the human stories and understanding people and making documentaries to unite and help everyone understand each other better. So I've actually always been making films. Okay. I don't really come up with ideas because most of my work is documentary work. Normally what I do is I find amazing people, and it's digging out of them what their story is or what their vision is that actually inspires me. So it's not me coming up with ideas, it's me meeting or surrounding myself with really interesting people and being able to find the amazing story behind it. Another version of that, it's just basically everyone has an amazing story. You just need to find out what it is. I think every single person in the world has an incredible story. So yeah, I don't really go searching for ideas. I just know how to get cool, amazing stories out of the people that I talk to. I think a lot of people think that there's two types of people. There's these amazing people and then there's the average person. I think some of the most amazing stories I've heard has been from the latter. Sitting on a bus next to an old auntie and hearing her story, or sitting in a corporate boardroom, but then listening to this CEO that thinks he has a boring life, but actually has this incredible journey behind him. Yeah, I think the examples are stories come from the most unexpected places. And you might think someone is incredible and you're going to tell a story about him, and then maybe behind the scenes there's another woman that's just even more amazing. So yeah, the examples are basically the auntie on the street or the guy at the bus stop. Try and find stories from people that are around you that you wouldn't expect. Yeah. And if you're already telling a story about someone, go deeper. Try to form a real human connection. Forget the fact that you're a filmmaker. You're a filmmaker second. First of all, you need to connect on a human to human level. Yeah. The way I craft a story is a bit unique. Because I mostly like authentic stories and real stories, I don't do much storyboarding and I rarely touch a script. So the way I prepare for a story is really about knowing in my head what the story could be, but it really comes from the person that I'm talking with or interviewing. They're the ones that tell me the story. So the way I prepare is really just having a lot of background context, knowing about the subject that I want to create. And then another thing is, what are the other elements that I can bring to that story? Thinking about unlikely partnerships and unlikely story angles around the edges that you might not have thought of. If I'm doing a story about someone, what is his local cafe? Is there a story there? Can we go and meet the owner of an old cafe or something like that? So it's really just thinking very deep and exploring. There's so much adventure in filmmaking and storytelling. You just need to go out and explore yourself. I'm actually an editor, so I do everything. I'm trained in everything. I can make a video from nothing with no one, just me and a camera and my laptop or even my phone. But if I really am honest with myself, the thing I love most is editing a story. And so the way that I normally edit a story, people think that everything is planned out beforehand. But actually, the more crazy I go with the filming and the more crazy I go with the interviews, the more fun it is for me to edit, because that's where I craft the story. And the way I do that is a process which I call FIMO, effort move on, where I just basically cut it as fast as possible. And I mean, even if I'm doing a 40-minute documentary, how many days? Give myself 2 days to get my first cut, because it's only once you've got your first finished edit that you can make it better. So a lot of people will start editing and take a long time to slowly get to their first assemble, and then they're like, yay, I finished my first cut. I'm the opposite. I need to finish something because only then I can know how to improve it. So even if it's terrible, there's a saying, I can't remember who said it, but if something's worth doing, it's worth doing badly. And that relieves a lot of anxiety. Don't think about doing it good. Think about doing it, finishing it, and then you can go on and make it better. And then you're going to be way ahead of everybody else, because at least you've got your first draft done. I think people underestimate how important the editing process is, and also how fun it can be. A lot of people see that as the chore. They love to go out and film, but they don't like to come and edit. And I'm the complete opposite. I think editing is absolutely addictive. It's so much fun to see it and craft a story. And if you're struggling with your edit, one thing I suggest is throw out your draft and just go and edit something completely different. What would it look like if you removed every scene with your main character? What would it look like if there was no audio at all and you had to re-edit the whole thing? Tell exactly the same story but without audio. This kind of stuff inspires you to be more and more creative. Sound design, you know, a lot of young people when they're starting out, they're so scared about the camera and everything else, they forget about sound. Sound is amazing. The sound of rain, the sound of footsteps, the tension building, you know, sound is a great storytelling tool. So I think my advice is just to explore. Don't let the technology hold you back, and be creative. I mean, that's why you're doing this, right? You want to make something, so go create something that's yours, because it doesn't matter what I say. At the end of the day, the video is going to be something that represents what you guys do. So yeah, just let yourself go wild, because no one knows the rules anymore. Filmmaking has changed so much. So much. I mean, when I first started, DSLRs, like 5Ds, all these things didn't exist. So yeah, that evolution has basically made everyone creative, because now every single person has a filmmaking tool in their pocket, because they can use an iPhone. They can even use iMovie to cut together their movie. So you're not limited by expensive equipment anymore. You know, TV and broadcast is often a lot of people to make one short clip. Even advertising, you have millions of dollars into one 30-second commercial. And I think the really exciting opportunity, and I say exciting because some people think it's terrifying, but I think it's amazing, is that you have so much more to play with now when everyone becomes a story. You have so much more that you can do. What am I trying to say? Everyone has the ability to tell stories now, everybody. And as a filmmaker, you should see that as an opportunity to really refine your craft and really be someone that can connect the pieces, you know? Be an expert at human storytelling. Don't be an expert at operating a camera. Don't be an expert in cinematography or just in editing, because those skills will eventually be improved and replaced on with technology and computers and better iPhones that will make it look like an expensive camera. I think what you need to really craft, if you want to have a job in storytelling long term, is really become a storyteller and really understand people, understand humans. Robots can't replace that. For young kids out there, it means that you guys can make awesome stuff with your phone. Don't let the fact that older people tell you that you need this or you need that. You don't need anything. No one knows what the best tools are anymore. Go out with your phone and make a movie. You can cut it together on the same device and then distribute it on the same device. Don't be held back by gear. My favorite camera is the one that I have in my hand. In the next couple of years, about 80% of the entire internet is going to be video. Okay, I think there's something like billions of pieces of content being created every single day. So how do you differentiate in that market? How do you stand out? How do you build a career, a life, being able to share stories? I think you just have to become really good at something that not many people are doing. although there's billions of pieces of content, how many pieces of content are really memorable and are really inspiring or unforgettable, and more importantly, have meaning behind it? Because you can make a YouTube video about a pair of shoes or whatever, but if it doesn't really make an impact on the world, it's not going to be remembered. So if you can make content that's unforgettable because it tells a really, not just great story, but inspiring story, aspirational story, hopeful story, something that pushes humans forward, people will remember that longer. So try and incorporate more impact into your work and give yourself a bigger purpose than just making videos. Making videos is great fun, and I encourage everybody to go out and make videos. But if you can make videos with meaning, if you can make videos that change the world, then you're gonna love this career so much more than you thought you did. So ready? Ask your questions in the comment section below, where I'm standing by to answer them live. So yeah, because I learned when I was young, I've never been to film school, I've never been to any university actually at all. I just started working, and I just worked really, really hard. I always used to say that there's a lot of people that are way more talented than I was at filmmaking and editing, but they didn't work as hard as me. And I just really made sure that I would make this work, that I could get a job, that I could support myself. So yeah, I just straight out of school started working and started making documentaries and making video content. And even now, you know, I run my own communications company in Singapore because I built that reputation of just telling great stories. Yeah. In my opinion, there's no such thing as a perfect story. Every story is unique. I don't think there's any rules anymore in how to tell a story. I love the idea of transmedia. Like, you know, you've got one video happening online here, but then maybe there's 20 other videos at the same time in the same story that you can go and pick up the pieces. So if you're going into the storytelling industry, think of it in really unique ways. Think of it almost like a journey for yourself to be able to decide, you know, okay, which character is going to appear in which part of the story, and then can there be a second video that's hidden somewhere else, you know what I mean? So I don't think there's a perfect story because yeah, the story has become so collective now. It's not just about one video or one story. The story is made up of millions of fans and Facebook likes and all this kind of stuff. So yeah, I don't think there's such thing as a perfect story. My projects are never limited by budget. Money is important. Money is important because you want to get paid well, because you want a stable lifestyle, and that's really, really important as a filmmaker, as any creative. But money shouldn't define the story that you're trying to tell, because it doesn't make a difference. Like I said, whether you're using the best camera or whether you're using a phone, the story is really what matters. Of course, you know, things like lighting can help. Having good audio is really important, but that doesn't necessarily mean you need a lot of money. I mean, the amount of times I've seen like top professionals do the most stupid mistakes with audio, where they have, you know, $10,000 equipment, but they record in an area which is super noisy, right? It just doesn't make sense. You can have very expensive equipment and still get bad sound. Whereas I've seen students that think so much about lighting that even though they're shooting on their phone, they still put a lampshade, their mother's, you know, desk lamp on one side, and that light actually makes a huge difference. So it's more about the intention that you have and not the budget that you have. Always be thinking about your lighting, always be thinking about your sound, and the quality will come with that. It doesn't matter what gear or how much money you have. Yeah. Don't forget to just keep doing what you love, and yeah, I can't wait to see all your stories. So submit your entries at the5minvideo.com.